Underneath the ground you are standing on right now, the Earth is alive. It breathes, it moves, and sometimes it explodes. These are the 10 deadliest times it did. Number 10. Santa Maria, Guatemala, 1902. October 1902. Santa Maria volcano in Guatemala had been silent for 500 years. People thought it was dead. It wasn't. When it finally woke up, it blasted a crater 300 meters wide in under a day. The ash cloud darkened the sky for hundreds of kilometers. 8,000 people were killed, most of them buried alive under volcanic rock and ash while they slept. The world barely noticed. That same week, another volcano on the other side of the planet was making even bigger headlines. Number 9. Laki, Iceland. 1783. June 1783. Iceland. The Laki volcanic fissure, a crack in the earth 27 kilometers long, began erupting, not with lava, with poison. For 8 months, it pumped 120 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the air. A toxic blue fog drifted across Europe. Livestock died. Crops failed. 9,000 people died in Iceland alone. 1/4 of the entire population. Across Europe, crop failures from the poisoned skies killed an estimated 20,000 more. Benjamin Franklin, then in France, wrote about the strange haze covering the sky that summer. He became the first person in history to connect a volcanic eruption to climate change. Number 8. Mount Unzen, Japan. 1792. 1792. Japan. Mount Unzen had been erupting for months. But what killed 15,000 people wasn't lava. It was what happened next. The side of the volcano collapsed. A mountain of rock fell into the sea. The wave it created, a tsunami, swept across Shimabara Bay and killed 15,000 people in minutes. This single event was Japan's worst volcanic disaster in recorded history. And it taught scientists something that changed disaster science forever, that a volcano's greatest weapon is not always fire. Sometimes it's water. Number 7. Mount Vesuvius, Italy. 79. I-80. August 24, 79 A.D. The Roman city of Pompeii, Italy. It was a normal afternoon. Markets were open. Children were playing. People were eating lunch. Then Vesuvius erupted. Within 18 hours, the entire city was buried under 6 meters of ash and pumice. 16,000 people were killed, not just by the heat, but by a wave of superheated gas that moved faster than anyone could run. 2,000 years later, their bodies are still there, perfectly preserved as plaster casts, frozen in their last moments. A mother holding her child, a man covering his face. Pompeii didn't just preserve a disaster, it preserved a day. Number 6. Nevado del Ruiz, Colombia. 1985. November 13, 1985. Armero, Colombia. The volcano Nevado del Ruiz was not a big eruption. Scientists rated it as moderate. But moderate was enough. The eruption melted the glacier at the summit of the volcano. Millions of tons of ice and mud became rivers, lahars, that raced down the mountainside at 60 kilometers an hour. By the time anyone knew what was happening, it was too late. The town of Armero, home to 29,000 people, was buried in minutes. 25,000 of them died. A 13-year-old girl named Omaira Sanchez became trapped in the mud. Rescue workers tried to save her for 60 hours. The whole world watched. They couldn't. She died with her eyes open, looking at the camera. Number 5. Mont Pelée, Martinique. 1902, May 8, 1902. The island of Martinique in the Caribbean. Mont Pelée had been giving warning signs for weeks. Steam, small explosions, ash fall. The governor told people to stay. An election was coming, and he needed the votes. On May 8th at 7:52 in the morning, Mont Pelée released a pyroclastic flow, a wall of superheated gas and ash moving at over 600 kilometers an hour. The city of Saint-Pierre, 30,000 people, was destroyed in under 2 minutes. There were 2 survivors. One was a convicted murderer being held in an underground prison cell. His name was Louis-Auguste Cyperis. He survived because the thick stone walls of his cell protected him. He was later pardoned and spent years working in a circus as the man who survived the end of the world. Number 4. Krakatoa, Indonesia. 1883. August 27, 1883. The island of Krakatoa in Indonesia simply ceased to exist. The final explosion, heard clearly 3,000 miles away in Australia, destroyed 2/3 of the island in seconds. The tsunami it triggered killed most of the 36,000 victims. But here's what makes Krakatoa truly extraordinary. The explosion was so powerful that the sound wave circled the entire planet 4 times. Barometers in London registered the pressure change. The dust in the atmosphere turned sunsets blood red across the world for months. And that ash, cooling the atmosphere, dropped global temperatures for 3 years. Krakatoa wasn't just a volcanic eruption, it was the loudest sound a human being has ever heard. Number 3. Huaynaputina, Peru, 1600. February 1600. Peru. Huaynaputina erupted, the largest volcanic eruption ever recorded in South America. Only 1,400 people died directly. But what happened next affected the entire planet. The eruption sent so much sulfur into the atmosphere that global temperatures dropped. In Russia, thousands of miles away, the harvests of 1601, 1602, and 1603 all failed. 2 million people starved. The Russian state collapsed. That period is still known in Russian history as the Time of Troubles. One volcano in Peru triggered a famine, a revolution, and the deaths of millions of people who never even felt the ground shake. Number 3. Because the worst volcanoes don't just kill the people who live nearby, they kill the world. Number 2. Santorini/Thera, Greece. Approximately 1620 BC, around 1620 BC, the Greek island of Thera, what we call Santorini today, an eruption so massive that the entire center of the island collapsed into the sea. The explosion was 4 times more powerful than Krakatoa. The tsunami it created was 60 meters tall. And across the Aegean Sea, the Minoan civilization, the most advanced culture in the ancient world, builders of palaces and artists of extraordinary skill, simply vanished. Within decades, no war, no disease, just ash, tsunamis, and a winter that wouldn't end. Some historians believe this eruption is the origin of the legend of Atlantis, an advanced island civilization that disappeared beneath the sea in a single day. We may never know how many died, but an entire world was erased. Number 1. Mount Tambora, Indonesia. 1815. April 10, 1815. Mount Tambora, Indonesia. The most powerful volcanic eruption in recorded human history. The explosion was heard 2,000 kilometers away. It ejected 150 kilometers cubed of rock and ash into the atmosphere, enough to cover the United Kingdom under a meter of debris. 92,000 people died in the immediate eruption. But that was just the beginning. The ash Tambora sent into the stratosphere blocked sunlight across the entire planet. 1816 became known as the year without a summer. Snow fell in New England in June. Crops failed from Europe to China to North America. Livestock starved. Famine spread across 3 continents. An estimated 1 million people died from starvation and disease directly caused by this single eruption. Mary Shelley, trapped indoors by the relentless cold and gray skies of that dark summer, wrote Frankenstein. Lord Byron wrote his poem Darkness, describing a world without sun. The horses that died from the famine drove a German inventor to create the first bicycle as a replacement. One volcano, one day. And the world was never quite the same again. 1 million people, from one mountain, on one day. The Earth doesn't ask permission, and it never warns you twice.